Hi everyone, it's Roger and James here from the What's on Disney Plus podcast. In this week's episode, we're going to be talking all about the addition of Hotstar onto Hulu and ESPN. We're talking about the Star Plus launch, plus we've got loads of new stuff to be talking about. We're talking about Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. We'll be talking about the only murderers in the building, plus Marvel's What If, and a whole host of other bits and pieces today. But before we go any further, if you haven't already done so, make sure you are subscribed either on YouTube or the audio platform, so you can find us on like Google Podcasts, iPodcasts, etc., things like that. And also a big thank you and hello to all of our Patreon and YouTube channel members for supporting the show. You can become a member for as little as $2 a month. You get to contribute to the weekly Q&A. You also get early access to some content. And just generally, you help keep the lights on and keep everything going so we're not dependent completely on advertising revenue. So big hello and welcome to Raphael, Robert, J. Blue, My VCR Still Works, Bina, Joshua, Adam, Dawn, Martin, Jeremy, and Sarah. While over on the Patrons, a huge, again, big thank you to Sarah for being a producer. We've also got hello to Andrew, Caleb, Red Marsman, Aero G, Andrew, Cody, Darren, The Juice, Lauren, and James. Again, thank you for all of your support. Really makes everything keep moving along. So let's move along. There's been a lot of news, obviously, with the weekend coming up with the Labor Day kind of things kind of cooled off a little bit. But let's jump into it. First off, a big kind of announcement, which might not really interact too much for Disney Plus subscribers in the US, but internationally, I think it's going to have a big impact at some point later this year or maybe early next year. Disney made a big shocking announcement that they are going to be closing down Hotstar in the United States. Now, Hotstar is a streaming service which offers all of the Indian content that you might find on Disney Plus Hotstar in India. And it's been running for years. It also runs in the United Kingdom and Canada and in Singapore, but we're only going to be talking about the US. They're going to be closing it down in 2022 at some point. They are going to be, as of like the 1st of September, they've put like a Hotstar area inside of Hulu. They've also been moving all of the live sports over onto ESPN Plus and basically trying to get everyone on Hotstar over onto the Disney streaming bundle, and you can have refunds and stuff if you don't want it. Now, this is sorting out what they got with all their different apps. Now, I would say it is kind of a niche app in terms of where it is in the US because it's only after a specific audience, and therefore merging it in with Hulu and ESPN Plus makes a lot of sense in terms of cutting down costs. We've also got the other thing as well where in the UK and Canada, I suspect the same thing will happen at some point. It's a little bit harder internationally because ESPN isn't completely run by Disney in both the UK and Canada. They've been like leased out to other things. So that's an issue with the sports. But I think this is, again, just this continued thing of just trying to push forward with streamlining their streaming services. What did you think of this news of Hotstar merging in?
Oh, well, you just said it there at the end. It's about streamlining. It's about making sure that they don't have too many different platforms to confuse everybody with, which they need to do, honestly. Yeah. Though I do have to admit, I don't know how many people actually know Hotstar was in America in the first place. We probably talked about it back when one of the first episodes, honestly, and then haven't talked about it since. And I'm sure that it's big with the Indian community within America, but outside of that, I doubt it has much traction. So
this is the big thing. I mean, it was only back in July when they were doing a big event in India that they talked about the idea of bringing Hotstar specials and originals onto Hulu and Star Disney Plus. And it was a bit of like, when I heard that, that would make a lot of sense. And then I even wrote an article like 3 weeks ago about the merging, and I didn't quite expect within 2 weeks that would happen. But it was kind of like, for me, of what I would love them to do is to take because some of the movies and stuff they offer in like 9 different languages, is if they're then thinking like, okay, we're putting this out onto bigger audiences everywhere, they start putting on some more subtitles and dubbing and stuff for us as well. There's some big epic movies that they make. They spend a lot of money on them. So it's like, offer them to us, put the subtitles on. It gives us more choice. Amazon and Netflix are really going after the Indian market as well. And for me, it's just this is consolidation. We've got a load more apps we still need to get rid of. But to me, this is just a good step round. Again, the only problem to me is, on Disney Plus, like over here in the wood, they're going to have to do a little bit of organization in terms of how they're going to do some tweaks, because if they just load in, 2,000 shows and movies overnight, the whole of like our genres and everything is going to get swamped with it, and that will annoy people that that obviously don't speak the Indian language, because there's too much of it. You've got to find a line between making it easy for all the Hotstar audience to have everything in one place, but also not to overwhelm everybody. If you're going through the the A to Z, I mean, not that even exists on Disney Plus right now. There's a bit of a line, so they've got to do some more tweaking. I think Hulu's a little bit better because they've kind of created a hub already, and they've got all these different networks, so they're much more better fitted to do it. But they have got to sort some things out. They can't just move it all over straight away, because otherwise there will be complaints from both sides, and that's perfectly. I mean, you can see it already with just when they added all the Star stuff in. It was actually quite hard sometimes to find the Disney stuff if you weren't within that Disney tab. So I do think they're going to have to do that before they can load them in, and then hopefully as well make these Hotstar specials and originals available for all countries eventually at some point as well. If they're putting it on there in one country, I would imagine then it's just easy just to put it everywhere.
Yeah, and hopefully they'll figure it out. This is a trick none of the streaming companies have really figured out how to properly showcase what you want to the right customer. Some have gotten better at it than others, but I think they're just going to have to make a new tab like they did with Star.
Yeah, or at least have a Hotstar tab within Star, or I don't know,
something like that. Yeah,
it's a very tricky one. Now, speaking of Star, this past week in Latin America, Star Plus launched. Now, just to confuse things even more, so in Latin America, they have Star Plus, which it's basically a combination between Hulu, ESPN Plus, and then you kind of got all the content from Star on Disney Plus. It's like very mangled up connection of stuff. So all the Star originals that we talk about will be on Star Plus, things like Only Murderers in the Building, Vacation Friends, things like that. And then they've also got lots of original content, but they're having to pay extra for it because they got all the live sports in there, which obviously costs a little bit more than a lot of the things that they've got on there. You can kind of do the Disney Plus Star combo, where you get the two of them together for about $9. Important to note as well, obviously the US dollar value is different in each country. So whereas how many dollars they make per hour is obviously much less, so you've got to take that into consideration, because everyone goes, for $9 it's great, but relative to their income is the issue that you got to take into account. But so there's a little bit of a pain that they've launched Star Plus. I would have rather than gone with the one platform. They could change things in the future, but right now again they just seem to me like they're just trying out different things all over the place.
That is the method that they're using. Let's try something in America, let's try something in South America, let's try something in Europe. And honestly, the European one seems the best so far, but let them try out the different things. Go ahead.
I'd say India's got a good system as well. I mean, they've got the most content because they've also got the live sports, they've got everything in there, so that because even the European and Australian and Canada one doesn't have all the sports stuff. So it's definitely fun to see what's going on around all over the place. Again, they're just pushing out that Star brand. We're seeing lots of this of what's going on since they acquired it from 20th Century. But I thought I'd bring up Star Plus, as obviously it's just when I refer to a Star from now on, just it should also be on Star Plus. I don't want to be sitting there going on Hulu, Star Plus, Hulu, Hotstar. It's a mess. Right, let's move on to some other big news this week. So Big Shot has been confirmed for a second season. They did a little video there with John Stamos throwing a basket, and they've confirmed that, which is great. I mean, that was one of our kind of favorite Disney branded shows so far. What do you think of the renewal?
Yeah, absolutely happy for this. Other than the Benedict Society, I think this was my favorite non-Marvel, non-Star Wars original that we've gotten so far. So now we just need a season 2 for that one. But I know we were worried for a little while there because we saw Mighty Ducks get their season 2 confirmation a while back, and we're like, it came out at the same time as Big Shot. Let it give us Big Shot as well. And so glad to get a second season. Definitely looking forward to that.
So production on that one begins next year, so it'll be a while before we get that one. Also, kind of not officially confirmed, but Henry Winkler did come out on Twitter and pretty much say that they are making a second season of Monsters at Work. Which, to be honest, when you got someone like that saying it, you kind of go, yeah, okay, that's you kind of go much beyond that one. Again, a series I've not fully loved. I liked the first episode or two, but I quickly got bored of it. It just didn't hold my attention because it was like, it felt like it was going nowhere. But I know a lot of people are excited for this one coming back.
Yeah, I was kind of in the same boat, whereas it was amusing, but wasn't really grabbing me, and I felt it was a bit directionless. A lot of times, though, shows in the first season don't really have their voice yet. They don't know what they want to do with it. They don't know what works and what doesn't. So hopefully they can take a look at season 2 and go, all right, we know we want this to work, and then we can go from there.
Yeah. For me, I definitely feel like, it's just good to have all of this stuff coming back. I definitely feel like that is always a better place to go on. Now, there's actually been a lot of new stuff out this week, lots of new content. So I think we might as well start off with going through some of the reviews because we've got quite a lot to run through. So first off, let's talk about Marvel's What If. So this one came out on Wednesday with Doctor Strange. I thought this was a fantastic episode. I thought this was such a great episode of how they put this together. It felt much more deeper and a little bit more darker than the last 3 episodes. And it felt like they were able to go off and go in a completely different tangent because it wasn't connected so much. I mean, obviously they were reenacting the movie, but they really went off on a tangent on this one.
Yeah, and through these first 4 episodes, we've kind of seen the different ways you can take a what if story, right? Especially episode 2, which was Star-Lord, that, everything is different. This one tiny change has changed everything in the entire universe, and so forth. And they've also shown you can have happy endings with that and Captain America, and you can have sad endings with that and the Avengers one. And this one is just much more personal. Whereas Star-Lord is, let's literally just cameo every character we possibly can, even if it makes no sense at all. This one was literally just, it's Doctor Strange and his mentor and Wong and his girlfriend, and that is it. No other characters except for the Watcher dropping in a little bit here and there.
And I like just that they interacted with each other. That was kind of quite cool because of obviously being on a different plane, and it just felt very weird. I mean, him just absorbing all these different beasts, and you could almost feel that pain of the thing of him keep losing the love of his life over and over and over again. And I really just showed really where because Doctor Strange really a bit of a weird one in the movies because he's not really been in it a lot, really. I mean, we only really had the one movie and a few cameos, so we've not really had a lot of time with him. So this felt like a really nice kind of expansion of his character while it's feeling very familiar.
Yeah, and there's also the fact that we're seeing that Wong is becoming a more important character. He basically has the same role here as he did in the No Way Home trailer, which is don't do something stupid, and then Strange does something stupid. But we also see him in Shang-Chi. We'll talk about that in a bit, where he is clearly taking a step up to being an important character, kind of a caretaker character, not just for Strange, but for all of the MCU. And it was good to see that. And then on top of that, you've got this idea of a hard point in time. I forget which term they used, but this moment in time that no matter what will happen, period. They kind of hinted at it in the Loki series that there are these moments that no matter what you do will not get around. And I suspect that this might be an important plot point going forward, especially with Multiverse of Madness coming up and things like that, where they kind of have to go with certain points of time can be changed. Other points in time cannot be changed no matter how hard you try.
Yeah. Well, otherwise it's just going to get right. I mean, this is the one thing I was worried about with the multiverse. And we're really 3-4 things into it. It's already starting to, okay. But I can see why this, they can use the what they've showed to cement some of those ideas in place. Again, I just thought this was a fantastic episode. I would probably say it's my favorite so far. I really did feel like it was a step up, definitely a step above last week's Avengers one. I liked the Star-Lord one because it felt different. Again, it was a bit fresh. I wasn't so keen on the Captain Carter one, but I did enjoy that one. But this Doctor Strange one was definitely much better, I think, all the way around.
I think the storytelling in it is much better. It doesn't necessarily have my favorite plot, but it executes on its story much better than the other ones do. And I think that is, again, because it's much more focused. It's much more just, this is Doctor Strange's story. Here's not a random cameo of Spider-Man. No, there's not a random cameo of Captain Marvel over here. It is literally just Strange. And keeping it personal like that lets you tell a more interesting story.
Yeah, no, it was a very good episode. We also had Doug Days this week as well, which was 5 new shorts based around Up. Did you happen to watch this one?
I actually forgot it came out this week. It did not show up in the What's New bar for me at all.
Yes, I think as I watched it like a week ago, I suddenly remembered, as like, oh yeah, that was out as well. I thought they were fantastic, a lot of fun. I mean, I did talk about them last week as well, but definitely go check them out. They're only about 5 minutes a piece, especially with the main actor passing away. I don't think he actually provided the voice of this one. I'm not 100% sure on that one, but definitely a lot of fun. I really thought that was good. We also had the Billie Eilish concerts, which was it Happier Ever After, a love letter to Los Angeles. Now this one was probably about 100 minutes plus. Basically goes for her entire new album, Happier Ever After. She's on the stage at the Rose Bowl, and she is kind of, there's not a lot of people there because they obviously filmed it in the pandemic. There's a few times when they had got an orchestra in, or they got like a school choir that she used to belong to, but it's very, very well done. They had like special lighting, like every song had a different color, and sometimes it was just her. Sometimes they mixed it up quite well, so it didn't get too boring. They also had like little vigilant things, like little videos where they had an animated version of her in a car driving around certain places in Los Angeles. It was a bit of a funny one because I heard of a few of her songs, and this was like obviously the first time I listened to this album, and she's a very quiet, she's like whispers and you can't quite hear what she's saying. And it was a little bit like I'm slightly older with tinnitus, so I can't hear that loud, so I just kind of out quite loud to kind of hear what she was saying. I think I read a lot of things about like a lot of people like listening to her with the headphones on so you can hear her crisper. I enjoyed it. It was very calming. There was a few songs that were a little bit more upbeat, but I thought this was a good special. I enjoyed it much more than I thought because I wasn't too sure if I was going to like it or not. I've actually ended up watching it again, or I had it on in the background. It's kind of something I can put on in the background while I'm working or something, because it's just music. Again, this is a nice little thing to add on to Disney Plus. What I would love them to do is they just did, I think it was last night at the Rose Bowl, they did a Star Wars orchestra. Now that's what I want. That's what I really want. I'll be honest. That's where I would be full of. I saw some pictures from someone who was posting up last night because they had the Billie Eilish posters and stuff for the series. Can you not do the Star Wars one? That would have been much better.
I'm actually wondering if we got different versions, because the one I watched was about 60 minutes long. It was about an hour and then a little bit extra with the credits. So I don't know. That would be a bit odd if they did that. Yeah. In any event, this is my first encounter with Billie Eilish at all, as far as I know. Maybe I've heard her songs in like the grocery store or something, but I didn't know it. So this is my first encounter. I do not have tinnitus. My hearing is, as far as I know, fine, and I still couldn't understand a word she was saying until I put my headphones on it. So that was an improvement. Definitely watch that one with headphones, or if you have a proper surround sound system, I'm sure that's fine too. That said, it was very calming, very chill, and then you listen to some of the words and you're like, wow, these can get pretty dark at points. So I can see the appeal. It was fine. I don't think I would ever seek her music out, like for me personally. But if it came on, it would be, yeah, sure. It sounds fine.
It was very pleasant. I didn't really, it wasn't, because I kind of went in and I didn't know what to expect. And I think it's like, I knew like a couple of her songs and stuff. So it's like, and then of course it's just going on. I mean, there was one, I think she did like a duet with her brother that I like that one. It was a little bit different. There was a few that were a little bit more different. But yeah, she's very low speaking, which kind of, is a very different style of music. Again, the thing is with these kind of things is they can help bring people in, new people in to listen to somebody, they can also obviously appeal to an entirely different, you can put any artist on there right now, you could give them a special and it's going to appeal to their audience. And I think we need more of this. I think doing concerts and things like that, perfect. I think it's a great content idea for Disney Plus. And it's just a little bit different, especially obviously the pandemic when artists couldn't get out there and do performances. So this is probably a really good thing for her to put this on. But yeah, I thought it was pretty solid. I wouldn't say it was the best thing I've ever seen on Disney Plus, and I don't know necessarily. I wouldn't have gone out my way. It would have been something I would have picked personally. But I'm glad it's there. I mean, I've got nothing. It's kind of one of those things. I've got nothing really bad to say. Nothing I didn't like, which is nice.
Yeah, agreed. There weren't any songs in it that was like, oh no, I'm never going to listen to that song ever again. They're all in generally that same kind of chill vibe. Just going to relax a little bit, not worry about too much range. Even the poppier songs are still subdued compared to what you think of, like especially for teenage pop. Teenage pop is generally very in your face, and even when she was getting a little not upbeat, because that's not upbeat in emotion, but upbeat in tone. Even then, it was still pretty subdued, which I kind of liked.
Yeah, I mean, I thought as well, the animation, very kind of like cells. I think is it cell shading, kind of reminded me a bit of What If, and
it was Who Framed Roger Rabbit for me. It was very, especially right at the beginning when she's driving around in the Porsche. I'm like, this is a modern version of Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Fortunately, nobody was trying to toss that substance on it to erase all reality or whatever.
No, but I thought it was a good solid addition. I was definitely glad to see that one added on there. So let's talk now about some other ones. So we had Only Murderers in the Building. This was added to Disney Plus around the world and on Hulu in the United States and Star Plus in Latin America. So everyone got 3 episodes except for Europe. They decided that we gave us 2 episodes. For some bizarre reason, I don't know why they decided to change things up. Like we were all expecting 3, and then we only got 2. So we're going to go with the 3 episodes because that's what I've seen, and you've seen as well. And it's kind of again, we're going to have new episodes dropping every Tuesday on Disney Plus in a number of countries and on Hulu. So, what did you think of this show?
I'm glad they dropped 3 episodes. If they had only dropped the first or even just 2, like they did in Europe, I don't think the story really gets going by that point, which is a trend that's kind of getting annoying in current streaming, moving the hook from the first episode to the third. But overall, with that complaint aside, it looks like it's going to be a fun show. They've definitely set up a lot of people with very different motives. I like that they... everybody's hiding something, although they kind of resolve a little bit of that piece by piece as the episodes go on. The characters are interesting. I do kind of want Martin Short to fall out of a window. The character he's playing, not him, of course. And
well, I'm going to be honest. There was a thing with his dog, and I am not kidding. I watched that 3rd episode, and I messaged a couple of other people that have done stuff, Mo and Josh, and I literally they cannot do that to the dog. I need to know what happens next. I need to know what happens next week because I have a British Bulldog. I did not like that scene. Well, you don't hurt the dogs. You don't hurt the dogs.
I did like that they showed that the dog is still alive during the preview, and I had basically the same reaction with the cat, which is very dead. Obviously,
I was like, don't count. You can do what you want with cats. You can't touch dogs.
my cat disagrees, but. But yeah, no, messing with animals, especially cats and dogs, is always difficult. It's not always the best plan. So yeah, when they poisoned the dog and probably poisoned the cat, I was like, I don't like the direction you're going with this. That aside, like the inclusion of Sting was an interesting choice in there. And
I just really, it feels fresh. It felt like I was like. It felt like a movie because I felt like, in like watching 3 of them back to back, it kind of was in this kind of zone of going, well, I would imagine this like movie to be coming to an end or coming to the final bit. And like, oh no, we've still got a long way to go. And I really enjoyed this whole, I mean, I've liked Martin Short and Steve Martin for a long time. Selena Gomez, I'll be honest, I'm not really too familiar. I know she's been doing stuff, but I was never really into Wizards of Waverly Place. I was a bit too old by them, but it was that kind of thing of, I really enjoyed this like idea of having something completely different, very different tone, different idea, different storyline going on. And I found a bit of a complete refresh from everything else I'm watching right now. And I really like that. And, the combination between the three is one that you just would not put together. Two guys in their 80s, and her is just not where you'd think they'd go. But I'm really enjoying it. I'm really looking forward. It's definitely for me, I think one of the best releases of the week.
It was definitely very good. One thing I did appreciate, though, is despite the fact that there is a huge age gap between them, they're really not going too hard with the generational humor. Mm-hmm. There was that little bit where Martin Short and Steve Martin were like, "Do we call her? Should we text her? Kids today don't like being called." Yeah. But that was the extent of it. So there's not a whole lot of them, putting down the current generation, and not a lot of Selena rolling her eyes at their generation.
Yeah,
which would be a very easy trap for them to fall in. Now, I mean, they still could do it, but
it makes more, to be honest, it makes more sense from her point of view than from their point of view. Because obviously they probably still think themselves as much younger, whereas
we know Martin Short thinks he's much younger. They had that entire conversation with Nathan Lane with when I was a young guy, you were 50. Yeah, when I was younger,
yeah. But I really enjoyed that series so far. We got a long way to go. I mean, there's 10 episodes in this one, so we'll be talking about this one for sure. But like you say, you did need a few episodes to kind of get warmed up.
Right. The hook at the end of the first episode, I thought, really wasn't very good at all.
No.
The hook for the first episode is simply that she knew that she has not revealed that she knows the murder victim. And at this point, she still hasn't revealed that to other people. I was like, that's not much of it. I actually thought that the hook with her finding the clip of Steve Martin and him repeating the line that he had said to her earlier was a much better hook. It was like, oh, there's something to that. Now, of course, they have seemingly brushed that one aside already, fortunately not letting it linger. But if they had ended episode 1 with that, I'd be like, all right, that's a good hook to end an episode on.
Yeah, no, I'm really enjoying the series. I'm thinking this one's going to be at all. It was funny. Just a brief note. So I went to see Shang-Chi yesterday at the cinema, and we had the trailer. We had a Disney Plus trailer before it, and it was which I thought was kind of ironic, and it was Luca, Monsters Inc. and all the kind of Loki stuff. They made another advert, which was this, and I've seen it on TV as well. So it was pushing Only Murderers in the Building, The Walking Dead, and Why the Last Man, and also Vacation Friends. And they're doing 2 separate advert campaigns. So there's the Star campaign and the Disney. And I did feel it was just that thing of oh yeah, we're sat here in the theater. Haven't seen anything on the big screen in nearly 2 years. I was like, yeah, just pushing. And I like the fact over here in the UK they are really pushing Only Murderers in the Building as a top show, doing an advertising campaign for it, which is just great. Again, just pushing out that wording over here that Disney Plus is not just a kids app. It's, just kind of pushing that out there.
And you can tell they've thrown some money at it. I mean, the sets are really good, but you've also got the fact that you've got Steve Martin, Martin Short, Selena Gomez. They're not small. I mean, they're not A tier these days, but they are well-known names. And then you've also got Nathan Lane in a supporting role. You've got Sting. I don't think we've seen her yet, though.
Yeah.
And then Sting, the actual artist Sting, playing himself.
Yeah. Well, apparently it was the most watched original for Hulu, which is kind of building on it. They did Vacation Friends last week, which was the biggest movie they'd done. I mean, they're not putting a huge, but these movies are just built, and these series are just building up. So it's already. So yeah, it's going. It's good. I'm really looking forward to this series. And I'm really looking forward to, what was it, Monday? So we get a new episode of The Walking Dead as well over here, because I've already so I'm like, Mondays Walking Dead, Tuesdays Only Murderers in the Building, Wednesdays we're getting a whole host of new stuff. It's just it's pretty cool right now. Anything else you want to say on that one before we move on?
Just that it's nice they're spreading the shows out, so it does not feel overwhelming with everything dropping on Friday and being like, I have to watch all of this before the podcast. I mean, that's a
it is.
Most people don't have to worry about that.
It is. I must be honest. It's nice having the kind of the daily thing. And then we had another show drop onto Hulu, and then internationally on Disney Plus was the D'Amelio Show, which is an 8-episode part all about a famous TikToker called Charlie and her sister Dixie, and it follows their earlier this year of their life after moving to LA. You've also got her mum and dad there, and so this is So you would imagine if I would say to you it's all about a TikToker that dances and she's 17, 16 years old and her 19-year-old sister or that wants to do a music career. Be very upbeat, wouldn't you? You'd expect that.
Maybe.
Yes, let's say it's a very dark idea. There's a lot of problems because what it really does is it really showcases the mental impact that being followed by 150 million people does to somebody, and bad comments on her sister, because she's not, her sister, and there's a lot of focus on their mental health, about how the haters and the bad comments get to them, the bad publicity, the future of their careers and what they're trying to do, and trying to be just a 16-year-old girl, just trying to, have fun. The relationships that she builds in LA with her friends and being reserved because she can't trust them. Problems with boys because, and there's this whole thing of it. It was there's a warning at the end of every episode in the beginning, please go to this website because they're talking about suicide. And one of the sisters has a full-on breakdown, and she ends up going off to, they were all having therapy. At one point, Charlie literally just like, look, I need to cancel. They just stopped filming for a week because she just needed to be a teenager. And I watched it, and I was kind of, this whole thing. Oh, this is about a load of TikTokers. I got no idea who they are. I'm not the target audience. And I got in on it, and I watched like the first 5 episodes, which I got early. And then this last weekend, yesterday I watched the other 3 episodes in the series because I got invested in it, because obviously as someone that puts stuff out on the internet and stuff, I'm much more aware of negative comments and all the rest of it. So, but I'm not nowhere near in the what they're talking about, but I think I completely understood what they were the idea of what impact that would have, because I'm a fully grown adult male. It doesn't bother me in the same way that it would. Could you imagine being a 16 and millions of people just trashing you, and and everything you do being scrutinized, and just seeing her have panic attacks when she's getting out of a car to go to a shop. It was very like, okay, I was not expecting that, and I didn't think the series was. Yeah, okay. You kind of look at it and sometimes go, right, okay, parents, I think you've actually at this point you've got to decide, if this is causing this much problem, do you need to just pull back a bit? Yeah. And also you look at it and go, well, where are these careers going to be if they don't, people are going to move on and all the rest of it. But it was a surprising thing where I was not expecting to like it as much as I did. Which is good, and it was again a bit of a refreshing palate cleanse to what I wanted to watch, and it was again a bit of a difference to everything we're watching. I enjoyed it. I wasn't expecting to, and I think it went in a different direction than I thought, which interested me, and I think that was the difference for me. Other people might not care. They'll be like, "Well, she just does to get off TikTok," and that's the end of it.
Yeah, no, I did not watch the show at this point, but I also have completely avoided the fame thing. I use air quotes because again, we're nowhere near that level, but like I have no social media presence whatsoever. Nobody knows how to find me. If they're going to try to abuse me, they're probably going to go through you. So thanks for that. But also I think that people are getting more aware of the price of fame. You've got this whole thing going on with Britney Spears and her conservatorship, and just the general understanding that we're not meant to be in the public eye the way that people are these days. And I mean, fame has always come with that kind of cost, but these days with the internet, you can literally reach billions of people.
Well, and also like in Charlie's case, she was just messing about in her bedroom. She wasn't going out trying to become the most followed person on the internet. She wasn't like this was, obviously, she's just, it's right time, right place, right thing of everything happening the way it did. But, I'm sorry, but at 15, there's no master plan. It just, nature, being that young and having that much influence from other people coming in, it must be horrendous. And I really, just seeing her sister, she did like a Vogue video, and it was just, people were just trashing her because, oh, well, you're not your sister, you got no talent. And it was completely downlighted by like more than the and it literally just sent her into a just a sobbing, just, and you're on there going, this is just uncomfortable to watch, because it was on the lines of, she's like, and then they had some other friends of other influencers, they've all got like millions of followers, and just talking openly about the problems that they, and they're all going to therapy, and sometimes you kind of go, no, this really isn't like the real world for problem, but it just felt like maybe like teenagers' problems of now just revved up. I mean, we were lucky enough that we grew up without the internet when we were teenagers. It was just coming in, so we didn't have all of this. But I must admit, I was really generally quite, I would say, shocked and also just intrigued with what was going on with it. It was a bit like, I did not expect it to go the way it did. Because I know a lot of people just were like, oh, I'm not watching that. It's about TikTokers. I don't care. It's just come off of it. Why are the parents? And you watch it and go, wow, that was a very different story. And I like I said, I thought it was a good documentary. It might have been better had they focused a little bit more on the positive, because there was a kind of a thing of, wow, she really does live quite a miserable life. And you go, oh, I think, my life's not too bad. Well, you're not really showing a lot of the good stuff. It was like, it would have been nice to kind of have some days out and just have some time. But obviously COVID just stopped. They couldn't do the Kardashian things of, let's go off here and go off here and do this. So, they did a bit of axe throwing, but generally there wasn't really a lot of stuff they could do. But yeah, a surprise thing that for me to watch 8 episodes, I mean, that was like 4 hours. So, that was an investment.
Yeah, I might check it out, because I was definitely expecting it to be, just one of those reality shows that I've got so sick of watching, because growing up with sisters, we right at the beginning of when reality shows were really taking off. And at that point it was like the Ozzy Osbourne stuff. And even that was just kind of a bit wacky, but
yeah. Oh, and you got on mute.
Yeah.
For me, it's definitely, I mean, I like things like Total Divas. I mean, we just literally started watching like Married at First Sight UK with my wife and stuff. So we do watch a bit of reality one, but I think this was just very interesting, a very different take on it. Okay, so let's now talk about some other shows. So let's have a look, see what else we had come out this week. I'm trying to think, there's so many.
I think that was about the extent of what we watched.
Yes, and then obviously there was another big release this week that didn't make it to Disney Plus. That was Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. Now, this one couldn't come to Disney Plus Premier Access because of contracts that they signed earlier this year when they thought everything was over, or when they thought everything was going to be done. So it was on at the cinema, and it was going to be there for 45 days exclusive. From there, it can then go on to anywhere else. Now, they've not officially said it will be coming to Disney Plus like in 45 days. It can do, but they could also put it on digital streaming. They could put it on, purchase, whatever they want to do. So still just take that. I know a lot of talk online of was 40. They've not really said that. They still want us to get to the cinema first. A lot of expectations that it's going to break box office records for Labor Day weekend, even though that generally is one of the worst weekends of the year. It's not going to pull in as much as Black Widow. There's a lot of hype. We're going to talk about it. So we're also going to go into spoilers, because there's no point in not talking spoilers with this one to finish it off. But so that's the key thing with the Disney Plus. It will be on there. I would expect in about 6 weeks' time, but they obviously don't want to tell you that yet because they want you to go cinema.
And I would not expect it to be free on Disney Plus in 45 days. I'm kind of expecting like a soft Premier Access, maybe not $30, but I don't know. We'll see. I would be happy to be wrong about that.
Depends if they're doing it. If they're treating this like an experiment, like they've said they are, of seeing where, because they're going to have to make a lineup of what they're going to do in the future. I'm going to get them for 3 months, 6 months. So they might do a test with this. They might try and work out what they're doing. But what was your theater experience back? Because you've been to the theater before?
I've been to this theater a couple times now.
Yeah.
I've ranted about it plenty, so I'll keep it short. Same complaints as usual. Way too many trailers, way too much back padding of thank you for coming back to the theaters. Aren't you so glad that this is so much better than watching it at home? It's not actually at all. Fortunately, I went to an early time slot, so it wasn't very busy, but there was one person, probably 2 or 3 rows behind me, who felt the need to comment on everything. And when Wong showed up and Abomination showed up, I thought the guy was going to spill his popcorn over like the entire theater. It's like, this is why I want to watch at home.
Yes, if luckily for me, there's about 20, 30 people in there. It was pretty quiet, really. I think it was literally the only time anyone actually said anything I could hear was at the end when the credits were rolling, and someone was like, the end credit came up and goes, "See, I told you all," kind of thing. But yeah, generally it wasn't too bad. Again, I always love the fact that they think the virus only goes sideways and not forward, backwards. I mean, we all had, pretty much everyone had their own row because it was quiet, because I went in the middle of the afternoon. So it was kind of weird. I remember walking in and going, wow, I've not been in here for like nearly since Rise of the Skywalker. It's been a long time since I've been in there. Other than the spray when you had to wash your hands, that was it. There wasn't really any difference. So overall, it wasn't a bad experience. The only thing that got me was my parking cost me 80 pence less than the movie ticket.
That's an expensive parking.
It was £4 over £4 odd for the 3 hours, because it's right on the seafront, so it's premium parking. But it was because obviously it was packed. But yeah, so it was a bit along the lines of, yeah, okay, so this, if you put parking in this together, it was about a tenner. So but yes, this is, again, I'll be honest, had it been on Premier Access, I would have watched it on Premier Access, I think.
So I actually take it back. That's really cheap parking. I grew up in Washington, D.C. You couldn't find a spot for like less than $10, $15.
Well, again, it all depends. I mean, if you're in like the cities and stuff, they
right, of course.
It's all just relative to where you are. But yeah, I did chuckle at the fact that the parking was literally less than like 80p difference between that and the ticket. But yeah, so overall, the actual experience itself didn't have a problem with. I did wear my mask, obviously took it off for eating and drinking and stuff. But my glasses kept steaming up, so I did actually take it off because at one point, because it's like, this is just, I can't see. And so yeah, so they ended up doing that one. So I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the movie. For me, this was probably one of the most fun Marvel movies I've seen in a long time. I don't know whether or not it's just because I've always enjoyed watching big, epic martial art movies. I said the same thing when Mulan came out, things like House of Flying Daggers, Hero, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, also watching a lot of like Japanese anime, also like martial art movies, Jackie Chan. And so I've always had this big love of martial art stuff. And so for me, this was just one of those things of, yeah, it had everything in there that I wanted. The martial arts were amazing. The fight scenes were fantastic. The aspect with the dragons, I knew that there was going to be a dragon in it. I was not expecting a Godzilla versus King Kong's experience in the middle of the movie. That wasn't what I was thinking. I also really enjoyed the fact that there was a lot of Mandarin. The explanations were done in Mandarin with subtitles, because there was some times I kept forgetting I was watching a Marvel movie. It was like, I think it was almost like, there was like a reference. Oh, they just referenced the blip. Or, oh yeah, no, I am in the Marvel universe. Because if you'd taken that out, I'd have just said, oh, this was just Shang-Chi. He's a legendary hero in China. And I loved it. I thought I came out of that, and I'm sitting there going, I can't think of anything I didn't like. I just enjoyed it from start to end. I would have liked more Abomination, but that literally,
well, I want to see how Abomination and Wong became friends.
Yeah.
There's a story there. I hope they explore that. In general, I agree. The martial arts were fantastic, and that's all I really needed from this movie was good martial arts. I love, like Legend of Drunken Master, Iron Monkey, Hero, Invincible, things like that. So same page on that. The fights were great. They were kinetic. They were active. I don't think they unseated the Winter Soldier fight as my favorite fights in the market, but they're definitely up near the top.
Yeah.
The one point that I disagree on was the dragons. By the point the dragon showed up and the Dweller in Darkness started to get into the fight, for me, the movie was done. Because his father had just done the sacrifice for the Dweller in Darkness and all that. I was like, this dragon fight, I am checked out mentally. It did nothing for me.
All right.
I felt that they really only added it because they felt they needed the story to be more epic, to have that, the final huge CGI fight between the giant monsters. Like, this really doesn't fit with the rest of the tone of the movie. Let me know when it's done. And so that part didn't work for me, but that is literally my only real complaint with it is the dragon fight
Yeah, I do
didn't need to
actually.
happen.
Yeah, I did have another. It's the chicken pig. That's the only other thing I wasn't so keen on.
I can see that.
It needed a face. It just needed a face. It just needed some eyes. And the fact that why Tony could talk to it, I don't know. But I did like him being in it because it kind of. I think they did a great job of like connecting it in with Iron Man. Obviously, after the All Hail the King came out last week, I did think that they did a good job of like connecting it all together. Of just kind of being like, yeah, that's what happened. They tried doing something and they went way off, and then they had to kind of bring. It's a shame because the Mandarin was always such a great villain. I mean, it's just why do they have to kill them all off all the time? It's like they got this thing of killing off the best villain. It's like just take the rings off him or do something with it. It would have been interesting.
To be clear, we're talking about the actual villain in this case. Yeah. Kingsley's character is still alive at the end, and apparently just going to hang out with Pig Dog Thing and Michelle Yeoh for the rest of eternity. I guess good for him. He is still fun. It was. Yeah. I am a little sad that we never got the actual premise of the Mandarin, because I remember going back and watching the trailers for Iron Man 3 and being like, oh, he's such a cool villain, and then of course they faked out, which I enjoyed the fake out, but it did take away that villain aspect. Now that said, this version of the character, and obviously he's not the Mandarin in this case, but the villain does.
Well, they do kind of say that was a name, but obviously it's a really bad name. And they don't like, and it's just an orange kind of thing, and they don't, and it kind of just was that thing of, it's a terrible name, and that's what they've called me, but I'm known by lots of names, so he is the Mandarin. But then I always think back to the Iron Man cartoon when I was a kid, with the rings and all the rest of it, and that was kind of what I grew up on. But I did enjoy that whole aspect to it. I don't know where they're going with the 10 rings next. Obviously, that was the end scene credit, but I liked also, I think with Shang-Chi himself as well, he was very understated. He was very, he was running away. He didn't want to be a hero. He didn't want to be a superhero. He didn't want to fight. He didn't want to do anything. He just wanted to have fun. He didn't want any of the commitment, and he just wanted to live away from it all. And he wasn't there to save the world and all the rest of it. And I like that aspect of the fact of he wasn't going out there trying to like when they're on that whole bus scene, which was amazing. I love that bus scene. And his friend kind of going, well, how can you do all this? Completely just in shock at him.
Yeah, actually, let's talk about her for a second. Awkwafina plays his best friend / probable love interest. Well, by the end of the movie, yes, but I've only ever seen her in Ocean's 8, and then of course she was the voice of the dragon in Raya the Last Dragon. And I was expecting a much more bombastic, based on what I've seen her in the past, and this was a much more subdued. I mean, she's not exactly quiet, but there's a lot of introspection in her character. She gets quiet moments. She's not completely over the top most of the time. She's not a
bumbling idiot, is she?
She's not a bumbling idiot. She is competent. Maybe a little too competent, actually, with the whole bow and arrow thing. That was another issue with the dragon fight. It's like, you literally just learned how to shoot a bow and arrow 10 minutes ago, and you sniped a dragon's neck from like 500 yards away. Okay. But aside from that, her character was really well done, and she did a really good job with acting with the character.
And also as well, I mean, I always look at, she is our eyes through the story. She is the one, when everything needs to be explained, that's what she's there for. She's there to ask the questions and for people to turn to her and explain what's going on for our point of view. That's generally why they always have those kind of characters. And I thought, like, Oda and I don't speak Mandarin, so therefore they're talking English for her. Things like that were just those little touches. But she was good, and I was expecting a lot more hot comedy from her, and she, like you said, she didn't really play up on that. But I liked her she was a likable sidekick, a likable friend, and that was the thing.
And what was interesting was they did play up that funny sidekick angle in the trailers. Like they did we make a great team, when it's very clear that all she was doing was not crashing the bus. But that's like the only real major instance of that. There's a couple smaller ones, especially in the beginning before he starts to really come into his own. But once his story starts to come out and all the crazy stuff is happening, she matures as a character too.
Yeah. I did love that house scene. like where they're at the bar. And just Wong opens it up. All right, we're gonna. You can see the friends and stuff. Just like, yeah, whatever, a load of rubbish. And it's like, oh no, and then you can see it on them, like, okay. I mean that scene with Captain Marvel and Bruce Banner, and it's just like, what? I mean, talk about like leveling him up super fast. I was just going, oh yeah, and the rings are calling out to somebody in the multiverse. Okay, what's going on with this? Is it going to link up with the Eternals or somebody else? Or, I mean, I don't think I was expecting. I know I was. I don't know where I was expecting to go, but I was not expecting that to happen like that. Seeing them two in it and like instantly just bringing them up to full on, they say Avenger level. He's there now.
Which is interesting because he still doesn't really have like Avenger level powers. Now the rings are strong, obviously, but it's not going to be.
Come on, Hawkeye's an Avenger.
I know Hawkeye's an Avenger.
And Awkwafina is probably a better shot than him.
Yeah, actually, I mean, she did snipe. She did snipe the dragon. She took out a gigantic dweller in darkness with a single normal-sized arrow
and saved the entire universe.
Yeah, pretty much.
So she did pretty good.
Well, it will be interesting to see where they're going with what's powering the rings. They're obviously setting it up as like some major cosmic or mystical thing. We've already had the Infinity Stones, so what are we going for here? What's going to happen here? And I suspect we might find out, not directly, but the Eternals will probably have something similar, some MacGuffin that's going to lead into whatever the major problem is.
They've got to set up something for Phase 5, haven't they? They've got to set up some big villain of some kind, because I feels like we're in the introduction zone again, kind of all these different characters and setting stuff up. So I mean, it might not be till Phase 5 that we find out what all of this stuff's actually going on.
There's a decent chance we already know who the villain is, and that's of course Kang. I know that actor is supposed to be showing up in another one of the movies,
Ant-Man and the Quantumania,
right? Whenever that one's coming out, it's the same actor playing the character. Who died quite notably at the end of Loki. So we'll see how that one goes.
He's a variant.
Oh, I know. Yeah. I was downplaying on that, but yeah. But so it's possible, and it's also possible that Kang is going to be a fake out. That they're going to say, "Oh yeah, haha," and it's really Doctor Doom or something like that.
Don't know. It's definitely going to be fun to see how this works. I just remember what got to the thing and like, okay, that was a really good movie. And there's that thing of, we talk about superhero fatigue, and you kind of watch that movie. That didn't feel like a superhero movie. It didn't feel like a superhero movie. It felt like I was watching, like you say, a Chinese epic martial art movie, and I loved it. I thought it was so good. Really enjoyed it. I'm going to watch it again when it arrives on Disney Plus for sure. That weekend when it comes out, because it's just be like, I'll be telling them, like, watch it, Dad. You need to watch it.
I might actually catch it in theaters again. I'll be going on like Discount Tuesday, assuming that's still a thing. But I think I'll go and see it. I would end with, I definitely liked it a lot more than Black Widow, which I still enjoyed. So it's not like, oh man,
they're on two different. I mean, notably,
they were.
I mean, Shang-Chi without but then he still managed to get some superpowers from the Heart of the Dragon. So he's got. He can blow wind around and he has got some skills, supernatural skills of some kind.
And then the rings themselves also give him power as well. I mean, they weren't exactly weak weapons to be in. Now they're not the traditional rings from the Marvel comics, where each ring had like some superpower, like ice beams and stopping time and things like that. But they're still strong. It's not like he's Hawkeye.
Yeah, but also as well, I mean, they played up on the idea that you can't have them on for too long either, because they will corrupt your mind and get kind of. But then he did have them on for nearly 1,000 years. So.
Yeah, I mean, a long time is relative in this case. Although it did seem like they kind of skirted around this, that it was not the rings that were corrupting; it was that voice on the other side of the wall that was corrupting, and they just targeted him because he was very powerful.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll see if there's a corrupting influence of the rings.
Yeah, I just thought such a great movie. I really enjoyed it. I was like, well, that was. I mean, I've been looking because it's funny because a lot of people, I'm not looking forward. This was the one I was actually probably most excited for. you know, people talk about like Eternals and Miss Marvel and all these. I was like, well, actually, Shang-Chi was. I think again, because of what we like those movies, we were much more like, yeah, I think this could be good. This could be what we're after, and you know, I think that was why we enjoyed it so much more. And there's so much positivity coming out about this movie, which is great. And you know, people talk about like Black Panther and all the rest of it, and to me, it's on it's on a different scale because it is stuff we've seen before, but it's again, you know, Marvel is just doing a fantastic job of giving us something different and giving us different genres and different kinds of things. You know, this is, you know, we've been spoiled for Marvel this year. I mean, you look at what we've had, and they all feel so different.
Yeah, and that's been great. They've really showed. I mean, they'd already showed. Winter Soldier came out a number of years ago and showed, no, you don't have to do the formula. You can do a political thriller on top of the action, and then they've been building on that since. But yeah, this year alone, you got Loki and WandaVision and Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and it's just all over the place. There's something for everybody. One last thought on this one. I think one of the things that really does make this stronger Marvel movie, though, is that they worked on the villain in this one. You know, the villain getting tied into Shang-Chi's origin, being, you know, his father and having an emotional connection, and he had his own journey from villain to reformed to back to villain because he had the major loss, and then towards the end being like, okay, I'll be a dad for you in these last couple of minutes. Really makes him much more effective than almost everybody else that we've had in the Marvel universe, which is also part of why the dragon fight, I was like, oh, this is here just because you can't end on the villain just doing self-sacrifice. You have to do an actual big cinematic fight, and like, oh, whatever. Tell me what's done. Yeah,
just explode it up from the inside. But no, loved it. Can't wait for it to arrive on Disney Plus for everyone to enjoy.
I actually thought they might go that direction where the dragon eats Shang-Chi and then the rings like explode out of him or something. I'm glad they didn't. we got that in Mandalorian. We didn't need it here.
No, that's great movie. Really enjoyed it. I hope everyone goes and sees it this weekend. It's that kind of thing of, you know, but also what happens with Shang-Chi is probably going to set up the rest of the next probably 6 to 8 months of cinema releases for Disney. If this does well, which I think it might do, but I don't think it's going to do enough. I think it's going to be below Black Widow, and I think we will see a shift over to Premier Access for channels. I can't, but we'll talk about that in the future.
I will be interested for secondary market though. If maybe the DVD Blu-ray sales will be pretty good for it because it's not available on Disney Plus right now. And I know those are 45 days out too, but there might be that aspect to it.
I mean, looking at what they've done with Free Guy, that's out on digital like the end of September, and then DVD in a couple of weeks after the middle of October. Because again, physical, more you know, it takes longer to get it, you know, especially with all the shipping and physical issues going on right now around the world. That's obviously an issue going forward. But yeah, so, what's a discount? I don't know quite what that is anymore.
What's a discount? I don't know.
I don't know.
One last thought, which is a bit silly to bring up because this whole thing has been spoilers, so most people have already seen it. There are 2 end credit sequences in Shang-Chi. There's one right at the beginning and there's one right at the end. So yeah, I think the second one, while kind of interesting, wasn't necessary. So if you're in a hurry, you're not missing too much.
I think it would have been better had it been the other way around.
Yeah, the second one would have, or the one that we saw first, is the big one. It's the tying everything in and kind of setting in motion what's going to happen next. But I am glad they played it first, because if you are in a hurry, you need to get out of the theater. The second one is the one to miss.
You all know, if you go see a Marvel movies, you sit there until the last credit comes up. That's just the rule. You know it.
Yeah, we know.
As much as all the parents and the other people moaning in the theater, the ones in front of me going, "Can we go yet?" And the kids are going, "No." And it's like, "Can we go yet?" And nobody else is going. And like the kids are going, "We have to stay."
As far as I'm concerned, it's revenge for all the times that the parents take you to a sports ball game and you're like, they're losing by 30 points, and this is a game that normally only has 2 goals in it. Can we go home? No, you stay to the end of the game. You support your team. Like, no, but it's done. It's done.
On that note, guys, thank you very much for joining us. Thank you very much if you're a supporter on YouTube or channel members. And again, we'll be back next week with another episode, and we shall see you guys in another episode. Later.